Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Allaiza.
And you're watching Crash Course World Literature. And today, we're going to be discussing the evolution of Latin American literature.
Cut. Before we get right into this, Latin America pertains to all written and oral works from North America, South America, and the Caribbean. Most of these works are written either in Spanish, Portuguese, English, or in a native language.
The whole history of Latin literature can be divided into 5 parts: pre-Columbian, colonial period, resistance, modernismo, and the boom. Pre-Columbian is the start, and in the beginning no one had any paper and pen, so most works were passed on through oral traditions. The Mesoamerican civilizations were most evident at this time, such as the Olmecs, Mayans, and Aztec. The topics reflected their daily life, as it is about agriculture, myth, astronomy, and religion.
Towards the end of the era, the Mayans and Aztecs created codices which look like a stretchable book with a lot of symbols and codes. These codices were used to record many stories in society. Just like the Philippines, parts of Latin America were conquered by the Spaniards in the 16th century. Starting the era of colonial period, more on that, here is Tin and Jan.
The colonial period has a lot of pros and cons. First pro is that they finally wrote down their works in paper, making it easier to pass down and preserve. Another pro is that they have more to write about instead of fiction and their everyday farm life.
But the disadvantage they are writing about is much like here in the Philippines. They wrote about abuse and anger on how Spaniards infiltrated their territory. With oppression happening, Latin America had liberadores. They were the ones who write about freedom and national independence from the hands of Spaniards and Portuguese. One author was truly memorable and remarkable was Jose Joaquin Fernandez de Lizardi.
Of course, this took a different turn and got on a worse case when the resistance period happened.
The resistance started in the middle of the 19th century. This period was the rise of works that fought against colonizing force and showed appreciation for their natural culture. Resistance literature was important because it aimed to define what the identity of a Latin American person looked like, both on an individual and national level.
Even if many of the writers were men, during the resistance period there was an abundant number of female writers. Writers like Lorinda Macho de Turner, Gertrudis Gomez de Avellaneda, Gabriela Mistral, and Juana Manuela Gorriti.
They wrote about patriarchal oppression of women and marginalization. They truly paved the way for contemporary female authors to speak up and to be heard. Prominent writers of resistance literature included Jose Marti and Rubén Dario. Marti was a Cuban poet and essay writer who taught about readers about the imperialistic tendencies of the United States and how Latin America should avoid the United States.
The previous period, the Resistance, and the new one called Modernismo overlapped. Modernismo started from the 19th century and well into the 20th century. Modernismo began with the publication of Azul by Rubén Dario in 1888 and was a movement largely driven by poetry. However, the father of modernism was none other than Jose Marti because of the impact of his works were huge that he even got deported from his own country. Truly, this was a significant period since this was the first Latin American literary movement to influence literary culture outside of the region, and was also the first truly Latin American literature in that national differences were no longer so much at issue.
This period also paved way for a new genre. Jorge Luis Borges invented the philosophical short story and would go on to be one of the most influential of all Latin American writers. At the same time, Roberto Art offered a very different style, closer to mass culture and popular literature, reflecting the urbanization and European immigration that was shaping the southern home.
The last period was the boom period, and this happened after the World War II. Latin America enjoyed increasing economic prosperity, and a newfound confidence also gave rise to a literary boom from 1960 to 1967.
Many of these novels and collections of short stories were somewhat rebellious from the general point of view of Latin America culture. Authors crossed traditional boundaries, experimented with language, and often mixed different styles of writing in their works. The boom launched Latin American literature onto the world stage. It was distinguished by daring and experimental novels such as Julio Cortázar's Rayuela that were frequently published in Spanish and quickly translated into English.
From 1966 to 1968, Emir Rodriguez Monegal published his influential Latin American literature monthly Mundo Nuevo with excerpts of unreleased novels from then new writers such as Guillermo Cabrera Infante or Severo Sarduy, including 2 chapters of Gabriel Garcia Marquez' Cien Años de Soledad in 1966. In 1967, the published book was one of the boom's defining novels, which led to the association of Latin American literature with magic realism. Though other important writers of the period such as Mario Vargas Llosa and Carlos Fuentes do not fit so easily within this framework.
Post-boom literature is sometimes characterized by a tendency towards irony and towards the use of popular genres, as in the case of the work of Manuel Pig. Some writers felt the success of the boom to be a burden and spiritedly denounced the caricature that reduces Latin American literature to magical realism.
The Spanish language author who has had most impact in the United States has been Roberto Bolaño. Overall, contemporary literature in the region is vibrant and varied, ranging from the best-selling Paulo Coelho and Isabel Allende to the more avant-garde and critically acclaimed work of writers.
Again, we are Group Latin Lit, and that was Crash Course Latin Lit. And as my town says it, don't forget to be awesome!